It's showtime. What's up, everybody? Welcome into PFN Daily, your daily NFL news and analysis show here at Pro Football Network, youtube.com/Pro Football Network. We are just 24 hours away from the NFL draft. I'm your host, as always, Cody Rourke, video host and NFL analyst here at Pro Football Network, joined alongside by my co-host of the show. He is a fashion icon. He's a Green Bay Packers shareholder, and he's a lover of Black Rifle Coffee. He is Tommy Garrett. Tommy, I'm loving what you got going on today, my man. You got the nice jean jacket. You got the Pat McAfee shirt. I'm with it, man. Representing for the brand. That is dope.
Shout out to the guys.
Boom. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, bud. It's fun. We were less than 2 days away from the draft, and we've been kind of slowly counting down the days, but it's almost here. And I think we all kind of talked about this yesterday. The closer we get to the draft, start trusting less and less of what you're hearing. We're seeing some wild things get thrown around on Twitter right now and on social media. So it's fun, but like I said, you got to turn out a lot of the noise. You got to know who is actual news and who's just pumping out noise.
Yeah,
there's a ton of that right now. Like I said, I'm just ready for the draft at this point to hit, so we can stop seeing some of these wild takes, because some of y'all got too much time on your hands. I'm telling you right now.
Yes, way too much time, especially, whatever it be, lunch breaks, anything else, or just like in the evening, we should be having dinner with your family. You're too busy throwing out blasphemy on social media. There's a lot of that going on. Believe nothing that you see, and only half of what you hear is what a wise man once told me, Tommy Garrett. So that's how I operate in my day-to-day of living. Now, today on the episode of the show, we are going to do a one-round mock draft. And really, Tommy and I, we're going to take our time with it. And we want to include you in the conversation. And we're going to give it a best go as a consensus first-round mock draft. And we'll see, obviously, tomorrow night how accurate we are in these standings here. A major shout out, Outlaw 2448. Greetings, football fans, and welcome to the 2022 NFL Draft with a picture of Roger Goodell, and then the crowd in the background booing Roger.
Roger Goodell being booed is one of my favorite traditions.
He loves
in
it,
sports.
though. He
can't say don't do it, because everyone's just going to do it a lot. Like, he's got to own up to it at this point. Like, he knows he is the heel of the NFL. Like, he is the NFL's version, like Vince McMahon. Like, he is there to be hated on. Like, when he does something good, everyone else gets a credit for it. When something goes bad, even if he wasn't involved, we're going to blame Roger Goodell. Like, it just is what it is. It comes with the territory, and the dude's got enough money in his bank account from the NFL that he should not care about any of our opinions.
Nope, spot on there. Outlaw 2448 says, things I learned today, Mike Florio gets paid too much to talk about football. I wish I got paid too much.
Today?
That's like every day. I honestly wish I got paid too much to talk about football. I don't, though.
I already think I get paid too much.
They don't do that unless you have like controversial takes and things like that, and you're just
I can't do hot takes. I can't. I don't have it in me to do it. Like, I don't want to see that on someone else's timeline. I'm not pumping that out into you. I just can't operate like that.
I like to operate with integrity. When I talk about players, when I talk with players, it's all about, I think humanizing them and giving them the chance to tell the story. Far too often, the media is trying to tell the story of athletes. And I think it's a very, very slippery slope. I'm never a fan of that type of approach. I like being able to see it from the athlete side as a former athlete, as a former coach, and someone who loves the game of football. And so I think there's that. Keep it simple. RC says Goodell is Thanos. Interesting enough there. I mean, yes.
I mean, he's the judge, jury, and executioner, but he's not eliminating half the population in the universe. I mean, like, he can snap his fingers, do whatever he wants to, but he still has to answer to the owners to a certain extent.
Yeah. Outlaw says, I usually ignore him, but he said KC should take a guard as their first pick in this most recent mock draft, which is very weird considering how good Kansas City's offensive line was last year. I mean, obviously they dealt with some injuries at tackle.
Yeah,
but they have Orlando Brown. I mean, obviously, you have Creed Humphrey. Austin Ryder was great at guard, by the way. Really enjoyed seeing him there.
You're also hoping for help with Lucas Niang. That's one of the big things too on that team. It's maybe more like the right hand side with Trey Smith and Andrew Wiley. But I mean, look on the left side with Joe Tooney, Orlando Brown, Creed Humphrey in the middle. Arguably one of the best centers, top two centers in the NFL, if not number one, just coming into his second year. Yep. Like, the offensive line is just fine, in my opinion. They just spent all of last year retooling his offensive line after getting blown out in the Super Bowl, and kind of being the detriment of why they lost was the pressure they were able to generate on Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs went out and completely revamped the offensive line. It's not a massive need for them, but look, no team in the NFL is going to say they have enough offensive line depth.
We were like, what are they doing? And, luckily enough, as you mentioned, Trey Smith and Joe Tooney coming over from the Patriots. That was huge. Those guys were solid. And then all of a sudden, Creed Humphrey comes in as an absolute piss missile at the center position. Was arguably, you could make the argument, was the best center in pro football last year.
Yeah, I agree.
And Lucas Niang, I think, should be ready to go for a training camp. I know for him, he had the patella injury. Rumors about moving Trey Smith to tackle, but guard, O-line isn't a big position for us this year. I think that, if anything, Tommy, cornerback and edge rusher, and Outlaw, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like those have to be two priorities here for the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL draft beginning tomorrow night.
I see edge rusher a lot in mock drafts for them. I know Boye Mafe is the name that pops up quite a bit for them at that point. Also, I think receiver is one that everyone kind of like loves to link on them. And if the right receiver fell in, like, look, if Jameson Williams was sitting there, like, yeah, they're going to take him. You have back-to-back. You have multiple first-round picks. It's just not something they have to do. Like Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Mecole Hardman, like, that's a good enough of a group when you also throw in like someone like a Travis Kelce in there too. Like that's a good enough pass catcher along with the talent of a Patrick Mahomes to get the job done. Like I said, if the right one fell to them, I don't think they would completely pass up the idea of going to receiver, but I don't think it's going to be their number one priority. Like all these teams have needs, but I agree with you. I think corner and then edge would definitely be the ones I would be kind of looking at right now for the Chiefs. And we'll get to them, honestly, later in the draft.
He says those, and I'd say linebacker, which obviously maybe pairing somebody alongside Nick Bolton. I know they released Anthony Hitchens. So, yeah, that does make sense for them to do that there. The AFC West is going to be very interesting. Let's get to some NFL news and notes before we get into our mock draft here, Tommy, because that's going to take up a good portion of our show here today. Thankful enough here. The Jacksonville Jaguars today, Cam Robinson, they've come to terms on an extension. It's a 3-year contract extension worth around $54 million. He was franchise tag, and that was a way for them to work towards a deal without him having to hit the open market and free agency initially. Does this change any of the plans here, in your opinion, for the Jags at number one? Because there were some rumblings about Ikem Ekwonu, but even though Cam Robinson is going to be the left tackle, Ikem has said, and he has stated that he would like to be a left tackle in the NFL, but he'll play wherever, a team wants him to. Does this change anything for Jacksonville, in your opinion?
I think it does for me personally, although it very much seemed like, and obviously like all the draft analysts and the odds makers have all been pointing the Jaguars towards edge rusher, and that definitely does seem to be the way it's going to go. And I think this kind of solidifies it for me. Like, I don't think the Jacksonville now goes with a left tackle at this point, especially when you bring in Cam Robinson. I think it was the possibility was there when they franchise tagged him, but it was all going to come down to whether or not they could work out a longer term extension before the draft. The fact that they have done that now and seeing how Cam Robinson has played, I feel like at this point you're feeling good about where you are on tackle. Address the edge rusher now. It was either going to be protect Trevor Lawrence or get some edge rusher, pair someone alongside the like Josh Allen and like Clavon Chase on and those guys like that. So I think for me, edge rusher would be where we see Jacksonville go. They might bring in someone in later on in the draft, like another offensive lineman to help out a little bit. But I think at number one, it probably is going to take guys like Ikem Ekwonu or even Evan Neal most likely off their board. So I think we're looking at the Trayvon Walker or Aidan Hutchinson being the number one overall pick.
I would take Hutchinson over Walker at this point. I think that you're probably going to get more of a guaranteed trajectory. I think more impact play from Aidan Hutchinson based on what we've seen from him. Trayvon Walker obviously has some measurables to him, but is that a really great fit for the Jacksonville Jaguars at this point? I'm not quite sure. I'm not sold on that.
Do you want length or just stupid athleticism and a motor?
Well, it just
honestly, the whole talk about Aidan Hutchinson not having athleticism is just stupid to me.
Yeah,
the dude lit up everything that he's done. So let's stop talking about.
Remember that play against Ohio State? He's like, "Come on, let's go, let's bring it." And then he's
that game was on replay.
Folks. That's all you got to watch.
That game was on replay for weeks on my TV after watching the game. I was so happy watching Michigan finally take down Ohio State. That was just a team that wanted it more on every side of the ball. They dominated the trenches on offensive and defensively, ran down Ohio State's throats at that point. And then Hassan Haskins has his best game of the year because he was running behind holes that you and I could run through at that point. Like, it was just absolute dominance. But yeah, that was Aidan Hutchinson very much has that Watt brother mentality. I think he could be a distant cousin of the Watts with the way he plays.
It might be a hybrid version of the Bosa brothers and the Watt brothers. Might be a little bit, maybe taking a little bit of both. Could you imagine just combining those guys? Like genetic freak right there.
And you end up with Aaron Donald in the middle.
Oh my gosh. They should go Hutch, but I wouldn't put it past Baalke to take Walker. Look, in this one of these situations, Shad Khan should fire Trent Baalke if there's like a pick. Like, here's the deal. And then we talked about this
because we've heard the talk about this. There's the confusion about who's going to be the number one pick. They all three want someone different.
Different guys.
Neal and Hutchinson. Or I'm sorry, Walker.
It's ridiculous, to be honest with you. I don't know. Hutchinson, he's a piss missile. He's a dog, and he makes them better. And I think in a division where you have Derrick Henry, you have to find a way to stop the run, have to find a way to get quarterbacks, and Jacksonville simply could not do that enough. How much of how much of a factor was Ojabo and Hutch's production?
Oh, it certainly helped.
It definitely helps. Absolutely. It's a complementary piece, but I don't think it's fair to say that, he did this just because this guy did this, when on the flip side as well, it's like, okay, hey, Ojabo had a really good season with Michigan this past year, but before that, he didn't have much. There was not much of a sample size for him. So this was a really big year for Ojabo, and unfortunately tearing his Achilles is going to set things back. I still think he'll go round one somewhere for a team, maybe in the later rounds, maybe later ends of round one, kind of what we saw with Jeffrey
value
Simmons.
Of the injury. Like, as unfortunate as his Achilles injuries was, and we knew it was going to be bad when he went down during the pro day. We knew there was going to be a bad side, and it was awful to see that happen. Look, you're looking at a guy who some people were projecting could have been a top 3 pick. Like, some people love David Ojabo, even top of over Aidan Hutchinson, back when, silly season hasn't technically started yet at that point. So you can land someone like Ojabo later on, like either in the first or early second. That's absolute smash play to me. Like, I'm fine redshirting him that first year, especially if I already have some talent coming off the edge. I'm totally fine with just loading him. Give me that athletic profile. I'm going for the home run pick on David Ojabo, and I think he could absolutely be that. But no question about it. Aidan Hutchinson did definitely benefit from having Ojabo. Most guys, look back to the Cleveland Browns last year, like Jadeveon Clowney comes in and has one of his best years because he's playing alongside Myles Garrett. Last year, I think Von Miller played really well because you also had Aaron Donald on his team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised this year if we see someone like Gregory Rousseau have a better year for the Buffalo Bills because he's paired with Von Miller. So I think all these teams, like, you're better off when you have multiple high-level edge rushers. It benefits everyone. I can only rotate coverage to one side so many times. I can only chip with the running back or the tight end to one direction so many times when I still have to worry about someone else. So, yeah, it certainly helped Hutchinson, but I think the skill set is there to where, he's not just because someone else is there. They just help enhance and get him open just a few more times than he would have otherwise been.
That's the thing about football, though, Tommy. And I think so many people fail to realize, like, football, there's 11 people on one side of the ball.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody has to complement one another. Like, you can have an absolute stud. I go back to, like, sometimes with J.J. Watt towards the back end of his days in Houston. He was a stud, but everyone else around him kind of sucked defensively. And it's like, okay, he's going to see a little bit more of that attention because of that. Like, there's nobody else that's comparable opposite of him. Like, you have to play complementary football. And I think that's where we saw the LA Rams defense really take off last year. They had so many guys playing complementary. Like, the defensive line playing complementary helped out the inside linebackers. And then on the return, that pass rush and that pressure rate helped them stop the run and also forced them to be able to take away the passing game from most teams that tried to open it up against them. Like, that's what it's all about. Like, there's not just one side of the ball that's just going to dominate one position. It's going to dominate and change everything. It is complementary football. And I think a great example, 2015 Denver Broncos, defensively, that's complementary football all across the board at every level, every position. And we saw something similar this year with the LA Rams defense. And I think that's important there. And for a young defense like Jacksonville, Hutch will come in right away. Look, they're young as is, but he will probably overtake and be that leader on that defense. Like, he will probably be the leader day one when he walks into that locker room. Like,
no, I'm not saying that Walker can't be either. I'm not saying the Walker can't be either, but I think it's a very interesting combination between just the length of Walker or the intangibles that we bring with Aidan Hutchinson. I think both guys have the juice to be the number 1 overall pick. I would not be upset if either of them went first off the board. I think Detroit would have their preference on who they want to go number 1 overall. But I think either one of these guys, they're definitely going to be worthy of being that number 1 overall pick. I think they'll have great careers in the NFL.
I'm eager to see how everything falls in our mock draft that we're going to get to here in a moment. One more thing of NFL news here. Last night, some breaking news. The Denver Broncos re-signing veteran running back Melvin Gordon to a 1-year deal worth $2.5 million, up to $5 million in incentives. So he and Javonte Williams, they are paired back together, reuniting Melvin Gordon with his former teammate and Russell Wilson, the Wisconsin duo there. Interesting times ahead here for the Broncos, but Nathaniel Hackett has said there will be a by-committee approach here for the Denver Broncos offense this season. I don't think it really matters who gets the start, who gets the first carry of the game, as we saw last year, Tommy, and you know this covering fantasy football. They each had 203 touches. That is well-equated balance, even though fantasy managers want Javonte to be the guy that gets 23 to 24 carries a game. It's simply, I think, a smart tactic here for the Broncos with all the offensive pieces that they have to have balance. And I think bringing back Melvin Gordon gives you 2 backs with Javonte and he that have complete balance to the Broncos offense and the flow of the way they want to do things.
Yeah. Unfortunate for fantasy managers, like you went on Twitter and instantly knew who played fantasy football last year and who was planning on playing this year because everyone was just saying, well, I guess there goes Javonte Williams. So you could really tell the thoughts there. But
they were
NFL move,
people were pissed. I was like,
they absolutely were. Yeah,
I got comments on my podcast about it. Free Javonte. I'm like, Javonte's not like trapped anywhere, folks. Like, you have to understand, like, Javonte, here's the thing. And this is something that gets lost in the translation a lot. Like, Melvin Gordon, I think for the Broncos last year as a runner was better at, once he got the ball, hitting the hole and getting positive yards. There were times where when Javonte would get the ball, he'd get met in the backfield, and a lot of his yards came after contact. Like, that's freakish enough.
Oh yeah, all of his yards were after contact, but that's the skill set that he brought. Like, we knew he was going to be after contact kind of guy. It's the same thing we talk about with Kenneth Walker this year. Like, Javonte Williams, that was his calling card when he was at UNC, was his ability to absorb contact, have the contact balance and the power to drive through that and then pick up extra yards. Like, that's where his skill set over top Melvin Gordon truly shined. What I didn't expect was to see Javonte Williams getting so much more work out of the passing game than Melvin Gordon did. I think Javonte Williams has more upside. I think his ceiling is higher than Melvin Gordon's, but from an NFL standpoint, it makes a ton of sense. Like, it's a 17-game, 18-week season. Like, you've got to have guys on your squad who can rotate in and out, especially a running back. This is a rotational committee approach in the NFL anymore. Like, you don't have the guys like Derrick Henry is an outlier, but he's built like an outlier. Guys aren't getting used.
Finally caught up to him last year too.
Yeah, and for a team like now with the Denver Broncos, who are ready to win right now, you can't afford all of a sudden lose your starting running back and looking at, okay, who else on the depth chart can fill in. If something happens to Melvin Gordon, you got Javonte Williams and vice versa. So to me, it was a great fit for the Broncos. It makes a ton of sense to know how he can work on this team. I'm sure he'll work in Nathaniel Hackett's system. I'm surprised that it ended up coming back, because we do know, like, and you've said this multiple times, because you're familiar with the Broncos situation, all this stuff over there. Like, Gordon wanted to be a starting running back. He wanted to be a feature back, and he made that pretty public. And then when you leave your former representation, your former agent, to pick someone else up, it seemed like that was a move to try to move somewhere else. But after waiting so long in the offseason cycle to make these kind of moves and watching all these other starting spots kind of fill in, Melvin Gordon was left looking like, okay, look, I've got to go somewhere where I can still find success. He knows he can do that in Denver. He knows he can still get the similar role he's going to have there. So I think for him, at least for the 2022 season, it was the best move, and maybe we could see him move on somewhere else in 2023. But at least for this year, I think it was a good move by the Broncos and for Melvin Gordon himself too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it all pans out here. One thing, too, Outlaw says, can't wait for Gordon fumbles near the goal line again. Okay, that fumble against Kansas City wasn't necessarily his fault. I mean, for the fact
Gordon did have a case of the fumbles last year.
He did. He had 3 fumbles, okay? Javonte had 2, and this is like something with Broncos country. And I'm like,
now, was that fumbles lost or fumbles in total?
Fumbles total. Okay. So it wasn't like that bad. Like,
I thought he had more than that, to be honest, offhand.
Melvin had 3 fumbles total, 1 against Philadelphia, 1 against the Chiefs, and I think the other one was against the Washington Commanders. Yeah, those are the 3 teams he had a fumble in. But it's like, the thing that frustrates me is, like, it's such a low-hanging fruit narrative that I see, and it's just like, it's lazy.
It's like drops at receiver.
Oh my gosh, he had 3 fumbles last season. I'm like, okay, Javonte had 2. It was 1 difference. Like, 1 fumble separated the difference between them there. Are we really going to make a mountain out of a molehill here? And like I said, the one against Kansas City, he literally goes to get the handoff. Tight end misses a block, and before he can even secure the ball, gets blasted by Melvin Ingram. It's like, okay, like, we can be pissed at Melvin all you want. Yeah, you have to protect the football. Ball security is super important for any running back. But it's like the narratives I see.
Ball security is your job. That is job security.
Broncos fans just sometimes drive me insane with some of the low-hanging fruit narratives that they get from some of these bloggers that literally have no idea about the game of football.
That's not just Broncos fans, though. That's just NFL fans in general. Like, it's easy to grab onto the low-hanging fruit to make headlines out of it. Yeah. It's like, go back to 2021 or a 2020 season with Deontay Johnson for the Steelers and all the drops that he had, right? Everyone's like, oh, he's got to be taken out. You can't throw the ball to him anymore. He even got benched at one point during a game. Like, guys are not going to all of a sudden stop playing because they dropped the ball a couple times. Like, they're going to be back out there and still be high productive players. The same thing for fumbles. It's just the timing of when they happen change the optics. If it happens in the opening part of the first quarter, it is what it is. If it happens late in the fourth quarter in a 1-score game, especially in your own territory, then everyone is going to care, or right there at the goal line, right, when you're trying to punch the ball in. It's the situation when they occur. That's when it matters more than anything. But let's put some context, I think, on some of these stats.
Amen, brother. I'm glad you're speaking the gospel right there. Well, you know what? Hey, let's get into our mock draft here, because this can take up quite a bit of time on today's episode of the show. And for
what else do we have to do? Let's be honest.
You can get involved as well. Let us know what we got going on here. All right, so we're going to use Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator here. We've selected all teams. We're going to do a 1-rounder, and we're going to really just see how the board falls here.
I was going to say, here's my question. Are we doing this based off what we would do or what we think the NFL would do? And are we doing trades?
Can we combine both? I don't know about trades, right? Because it's like, what do we necessarily trade? Because I know that the AI usually pops up, but we're controlling every team.
We can manually control the trades.
Okay, so let's see how the board falls the first couple picks, and then let's take a look at some teams that are rumored to looking to trade back or to trade up, and then we can get into it.
And don't forget, too, like all the features you guys are seeing on this scroll on here today, profootballnetwork.com/mockdraft. It's all for free. You can control every team you want to. All the trades you can pull off, it's free. Nothing behind a paywall. So jump in here still. We still got a couple days left. Run your mocks. If you don't like what we do, which I guarantee you're not going to like probably what we do for your team, feel free, hey, send us over those mock drafts. Send us your screenshots. What'd you guys pull off? Yep. We only got a couple days for this to still be relevant. So at least we can have a little bit more fun right now while we still got the chance.
Well, let's draft. All right, let's go into it right here, right now.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock, and when you look at what the team needs are for them, interesting enough, has them listed as an offensive tackle, edge, wide receiver, offensive guard, defensive tackle, which I think that they probably address wide receiver in this year's free agency for sure. They have a lot of guys at wide receiver. Edge rusher probably more likely here. Offensive tackle, as we see with Cam Robinson, probably not as big of a need here. Yep. So, Tommy, my personal preference here for the Jaguars, I am leaning edge rusher. And so let's take a look at the defense.
I am going edge rusher as well.
Okay, look, Aidan Hutchinson, the number one player on the board here, Pro Football Network. Kayvon Thibodeau, number 3. And then you have Trayvon Walker at number 6 here, edge rusher. When we look at Trayvon Walker here, the thing is he's got a 9.99 RAS score. We factor that in. Obviously, this is a write-up conducted by Ian Cummings. Aidan Hutchinson, 9.88. And I think sometimes if people get so confused in those numbers and like, okay, this guy's got a 9.99, this is why we got to go with him. I think that's a really flawed way of looking at it sometimes.
That's about essentially arguing about 200th of a second in the 40. That's how close those differences are.
Yeah. So where are we leaning here? Are we gonna go with Hutch here or Trayvon Walker? Like I know the consensus right now, everyone's saying, hey, it's Trayvon Walker. I don't know where to go here.
If it was I want to say
Hutch. Like for me, it would be Hutch. Like if I was
if I was in control of the draft board for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would take Aidan Hutchinson. But I'm starting to feel like the NFL, I think like the Jaguars might go Trayvon Walker. Yeah. I think everyone is starting to push that way, but like I said, it depends on do we want to do this like for just us or what we think the NFL would do? If we're going by what we would do, we'd pick a Hutchinson.
Let's do what we think is going to happen here. I'm with you. Trayvon Walker is the first overall pick here in the 2022 NFL draft, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now the Detroit Lions are on the clock, and there's a couple options here.
They're dancing in Motor City right now.
They are, because look, Aidan Hutchinson's available. Kayvon Thibodeau is available, and Malik Willis is available here. I think when we look at this Detroit Lions team, I think it depends on how they feel about Malik Willis, to be honest with you. Or unless they're like they really love another quarterback that hasn't been getting talked about enough in the Detroit news cycle.
I can't see them. I personally can't see them going QB at number 2. As much as I would love to see it happen, and I am here for the chaos. Like, just understand, like, I want the chaos to happen.
They do have another pick, though, in the first round, too, which we could maybe look at quarterback then.
I could see that being a Desmond Ridder if he fell there. That would be a possibility. Okay.
I feel like they're going to go Hutchinson in this one. Like, it makes sense. Michigan, keeping him home. Like, that is great marketing, too, by the way. And you're getting a damn good football player.
Like I said, to me, it would either be Aidan Hutchinson, or I'm not ruling out Sauce Gardner, because quite frankly, they missed, or at least it hasn't worked out so far with Okudah. I think that's pretty easy to say. And on the board, I think you make the argument that Ahmad Gardner, his ceiling is just as high as some of these other guys. We know how much cornerbacks are needed in the NFL. However, Aidan Hutchinson just makes too much damn sense.
That's what
Dan Campbell wants. He is from the backyard. He's on the correct side of the backyard, not that weird East Lansing area that smells weird. He wears a correct shade of color, rocking that maize and blue. So for me, I think it's got to be Aidan Hutchinson. Give me the Michigan guy. Give me the Michigan man to Detroit.
Dun, 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 dun. The pick is in. Aidan Hutchinson going to the Michigan side of things, staying in Detroit here for the Lions. Dan Campbell, like, dude, he is a Dan Campbell guy through and through. I think that he'll fit
I'm a Dan Campbell guy.
Culture. I am too. I know that there was a Gandalf the Straight that was hating on Dan Campbell, but we don't mess with that clownery over here. Okay. I think this is where the draft gets interesting.
Yeah.
The Houston Texans at number 3. Quarterback? No, because look, they sound like they're very invested in Davis Mills.
They're in on Davis Mills.
There's anybody out there right now that's going to be better than Davis Mills is so far already having experience in an NFL system.
Yep.
Do they go cornerback? I know that there's been a lot of talk about maybe Derek Stingley Jr., Sauce Gardner. There's also been talk about offensive tackle here. for them, opposite of Laramie Tunsil. And a lot of people have had Evan Neal mocked there, but like now all of a sudden you got reports coming out this week that are apparently being disputed by Neal's camp about some medical rechecks. And some people think just because of those rumblings that he will drop in this year's NFL draft. Where are we leaning here for Houston? Like for me, I am having a hard time passing up on them addressing offensive tackle, which I personally think that they're going to go Ike Mekwonu out of NC State. That's my personal feel as to how I think it's going to go. Tommy, how are you thinking about it? And if we're at a Stallworth, we will maybe allow the fans here to maybe help influence us a little bit in the chat.
Yeah, I can see Outlaw right here chiming in with Thibodeau. Makes some sense. I think we could see 3 edge rushers go right in a row. Like I think that is absolutely making sense for them. Keep it simple, RC. Casario is lost and has no business being the GM. Ditto for the fact of GM Easterby.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we'll see what the Houston Texans do. I'm going to give them a chance. That's my biggest thing. For me, I think it boils down to edge rusher with Kayvon Thibodeau still sitting on the board, or offensive tackle makes a ton of sense. Laramie Tunsil has been really solid, but the fact they have an opt-out after the 2022 season and get out of his $35 million cap hit for next year if they do not restructure it. He's already due $17 million cap hit this year.
Yeah.
I think offensive tackle makes a ton of sense. And even if Davis Mills isn't your long-term answer and you want to play more towards like next year, like if he doesn't work out, you want to have that offensive line stabilized. So while as much as I like Kayvon Thibodeau, and I don't think he should slide in the draft like some people are projecting him to, I think OT makes sense. Like I said, if you thought you were going to keep Laramie Tunsil, I think Evan Neal might make sense of here because he's already played some on the right side of the line, playing a right tackle while he was at Alabama. But with Ike Mekwonu knowing he wants to play left and the uncertainty of Laramie Tunsil, I lean with Ike Mekwonu, the offensive tackle out of North Carolina State, net number 3 to the Texans.
All right. Are you on? I'm on board with that. Let's make it happen. Yep. Ike Mekwonu. Now, here's something else too. Houston has another pick here, just about 10 more picks. So they could address corner. They could address edge rusher from that standpoint as well. But now the New York Jets are on the clock. And according to the mock draft simulator, safety, linebacker, cornerback, edge, and tight end are there. Guess who's available here? Kayvon Thibodeau. There's also talk about Kyle Hamilton's safety out of Notre Dame. Like when we look at Robert Saleh, this is his team now. Do they go corner? Do they go edge rusher? Do they go safety? I'd say the Jets one is a little tough right here to kind of determine it because there was also the rumblings too on Draft Insiders last night. Tony Pauline said that, hey, like the Jets are going to put together a package more than likely to try and acquire Deebo Samuel. Do we see that happen tomorrow? And does that take them off the board?
There's absolutely a chance. I don't see it being number 4. If anything, I think it'd be number 10. I don't think they want to lose that first draft pick they have.
Okay.
I think the name that I keep seeing a ton of beat reporters for New York talking about, Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah, that was kind of that surprise one.
Absolutely love Jermaine Johnson.
And they have another pick at 10, right? So let's say if they keep that, I mean, do we take Jermaine Johnson early here at 4, or do we maybe see if he's there at 10? Like that's the tough.
If I'm sitting here looking at the board, which player to me is the most irreplaceable? Who has the tier depth?
I think Jermaine Johnson has a freakish nature to him that he's going to keep building on. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is also a great choice for them as well. Like it's split between these two guys, in my opinion.
My question with Jermaine Johnson, do you have to take him at 4? Can you take him at 10? If you want him.
I think you could. I think he'll be there.
I don't think you have to take him at 4.
Like who are the Panthers going to take? I think the Giants will also be another one. Like Giants, I think will take an edge rusher. I think that they will.
I can see the Giants taking edge rusher. I think right here,
OT.
I think Sauce just makes too much sense.
He makes a good keep it simple. RC says Saleh doesn't value secondary enough to take a day 1 pick, which is interesting. Like, I don't know if they do that here. Like, and also with the rumors, like you look at New York is looking potentially to trade James Bradbury away. They're going to need a corner, which makes Sauce, I think, a little bit more appealing for them at pick number 5. This is tough, man. I'm trying to figure this out. I feel like it'd be crazy to take Jermaine Johnson right now, even though I think he's got the talent and the potential to move up here late tomorrow to be able to be one of these early round 1 picks.
Yeah. I think for me right here, for me personally, I either lead Sauce Gardner or Kayvon Thibodeau. I think that's the 2 ways I would lean.
I think that's fair. I feel like we should go edge rusher with them first because Kayvon Thibodeau is not going to be there when they're on the clock at number 10. I don't think that's going to happen. I think
neither will Sauce.
True. Like New York has a chance to double dip. They could take one of these guys and Sauce. Like, it's tough. I don't see Atlanta doing anything like that though.
No, I don't either.
Seattle, I see them. Do they go quarterback at Seattle? God, like, okay, let's focus on the Jets here because I know
let's get through one pick at a time first.
We're looking at so much far ahead. You know, Tommy, for me personally, I want to go with Kayvon. I feel like Kayvon's going to go here to the Jets. What do you think?
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I know Connor Rogers. I know we just published I know Dalton Miller got together an industry mock draft. We got a bunch of insiders and other reporters, stuff like that. And actually, it was Connor Rogers from Bleacher Report. He actually made the pick, and he actually did go as well with Kayvon Thibodeau, the edge rusher out of Oregon. I don't think he's necessarily believing as much about the talks about Kayvon Thibodeau's work ethic. I think a lot of that, so much is just overblown, just trying to push a guy down. I don't buy it personally. But yeah, I think pairing Kayvon Thibodeau with someone like, Carl Lawson, John Franklin Myers, I think you've got a really solid trio of pass rushers, all with really solid levels of talent.
Yeah.
Hopefully corner at that point falls in at some point. I know Sauce won't be there, but there's some other guys that are on the board.
Who knows?
Take that best player available.
Yeah, so now the New York Giants are on the clock here, and I think one of the things for them, offensive tackle, if you're going to really invest here with a offensive-minded head coach in Brian Daboll, and you're really going to try to give Daniel Jones this year to really be that guy, I think you have to get another offensive tackle opposite of Andrew Thomas, and I feel like this is where Evan Neal might drop.
This is an easy pick then.
I think it's Evan Neal because I still think that, the Panthers are on the clock next. They're not going to take cornerback. I think it would be shocking if they did. So I think the Panthers
take offensive tackle, which is why I think if you're the Giants, you don't let Evan Neal potentially slide to them. If you want offensive tackle taken out before the Carolina Panthers do.
Well, and there's Charles Cross as well who will be available. I like Evan Neal. I think he could end up in New York.
The Panthers apparently love freaking Charles Cross. Okay, so let's throw this scenario
out there. Let's talk about this now.
If they think the Panthers love Charles Cross, right, and they will take Charles Cross over Evan Neal, would you risk it and take a guy who you absolutely love and let at that point Evan Neal slide to you at 7?
That's a good point. I don't think you'd risk it, honestly. I think if you have a hunch that maybe they might take your guy, which apparently the conversation has been the Charles Cross linked to Carolina more than likely, even though that, Scott Fitterer has said there's a couple quarterbacks he would feel comfortable taking at pick number 6. We don't believe you. You need more people. That's a classic Jay-Z line right there. I think the Carolina Panthers in this situation, I think that, do they go Charles Cross here? Especially Jordan Davis is available, Ahmad Gardner. They don't need cornerback help. They went J.C. Jackson with their round 1 pick last year. After this pick here, though, for Carolina, they don't have a pick for a long time. Yep. And that right there, they need to nail this pick at 6. Is it quarterback? Is it Malik Willis? I don't think they need.
I think for me right here, just sticking with the Giants, I think it's Evan Neal.
Okay.
I think Evan Neal is my pick here.
Well, yeah, no, I selected Evan Neal, not for Carolina though.
Oh, for Carolina,
yeah.
I think for Carolina, I think Charles Cross makes sense.
I'm with it. Let's do it. Charles
Cross makes sense, and the Giants walk out of here with Evan Neal and Sauce Gardner.
Yep, makes sense. Easy money right there. This is a great draft haul for the New York Giants, by the way. Getting Evan Neal and getting Sauce Gardner. That's going to be a tough team there. Now, it's Wink Martindale is the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants. This makes things a little bit more exciting there for the hyper-aggressive way that they like to play. Now,
Outlaw brought up a good point to you right here, or trade back and get a couple picks. Yeah, I think trading back right here makes a ton of sense. If we weren't controlling all these teams, then the CPU, the AI would literally send us some trade possibilities for this pick. And I think a trade back here in this situation does make some sense as well. But since we're controlling this one right now, I think we're just going to stick with the Ahmad Gardner right now. But a trade back situation for some of these teams that do have multiple picks, especially someone like the Jets sitting here at 10. I think there's several other trade back candidates. The problem is trying to decide who is going to you're trading up for. Because there's not a lot of top tier guys in this draft that we feel like a lot of guys are in love with and are wanting to trade draft capital up for. It's not like last year's situation.
Yeah, last year was a cluster fudge. As we're speaking there, the Atlanta Falcons, look, I think it's plain and simple. We need to talk about what they need to address. There's different needs. I mean, you can look defensively here. The mock draft simulator has them needing an edge rusher, cornerback help. They have AJ Terrell, and they also brought back one of the other guys too. Gosh, I forgot his name, coming off of ACL surgery. God, who is it? Who do they just sign back? He played football at Colorado. I am literally missing the name at the top of my head. He was somebody that I had that I wanted. Initially a couple years ago.
Eric Harris?
No. This is I think a second or third year player at cornerback coming off of ACL surgery. He'll be ready to go. I can't remember who it is. I don't think cornerback will be high.
am lost on
Dude, I am so stuffed on it. It's literally a Colorado cornerback though, from CU. I think for them, it's like, okay, hey, what about wide receiver? Like, do we go wide receiver here for the Atlanta Falcons? Like, you look.
I think wide receiver makes a ton of sense because you're looking at a room right now where Omalade Zaccheaus is your number one receiver after Calvin Ridley gambled away his future. You have Damiere Byrd, Cardero Hodge, Alden Tate, Frank Darby, and a bunch of dudes who probably aren't even going to make it out of camp.
Who's the first wide receiver gone?
Well, if we look at the rest of the Falcons draft picks, they have pick here, they pick again at 43. So you're still in that top tier area for a receiver. Don't get me wrong, but Garrett Wilson sitting here on the board, you could pair him right now with Marcus Mariota at number 8. I think that pick makes a ton of sense. If not, then it's trying to figure out where else we think the Falcons could go. Because a lot of this draft has not worked out for the Falcons.
Yeah, no, if healthy, it would be this guy that I got my mouse on right now. Jameson Williams, if he didn't tear his ACL,
JMO,
the first guy off the board.
I think the other thing is here, what about Jermaine Johnson? Did they go edge rusher?
That's also a tough one. Like, what's a bigger need for them right now? Like, they also need help at linebacker. They lost one of their key linebackers that had, I think, 193 total tackles this season.
Yeah, but I'm not moving up right here for Devin Lloyd.
No, I wouldn't either.
I'm not taking Devin Lloyd in this pick, I should say.
Edge rusher or wide receiver. Let's take a look at edge rushers available right now. Jermaine Johnson, as you mentioned. It's tough because there's also George Karlaftis, who's expected to go maybe a little bit later at the end of round 1, potentially to the Green Bay Packers. That's been some conversation that's been floated out there.
I think for me, it's either Garrett Wilson or Jermaine Johnson.
What do you feel like they need more? Do you feel like they need a receiver more or an edge rusher? Because I feel like they can still get an edge rusher, a quality one, a little bit later. Maybe not someone who's going to be. Yeah, it depends. Like, it depends on who goes. Like, if Boye Mafe goes at the end of round 1, there's Drake Jackson, there's Kingsley Enagbare, there's also Nick Bonito, Sam Williams.
I think they're hoping David Ajabo keeps going the fall. Because if Jermaine Johnson, George Karlaftis, and even like Arnold Ebiketie, we could see him potentially there. I think Boye Mafe is a name we keep seeing talked about a ton with the
Kansas
Chiefs.
City, yep.
I think those guys could all be there. So if you're looking at the Johnson, Karlaftis, Ebiketie, Ajabo, Mafe, if you're able to get one of those guys are still there at pick 43, I think you consider that a win.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they do that in their later round 2 pick. I'd say we go wide receiver here for them. I think they need it. They need a guy with downfield speed and the ability to go get it, and I think for a guy like Marcus Mariota, it's like how much of the deep passing game is going to be in their nature this year. I don't think it's going to be there as much. I think primarily you're going to see this offense be dink and dunk from a sense, but also primarily attacking the intermediate part of the field here. Garrett Wilson, in my opinion, is one of those guys, and you can take an occasional shot with him downfield. I like Garrett Wilson.
I love Garrett Wilson, which is crazy because he wasn't even the best receiver on the field for Ohio State. That was Jackson Smith and Jigba, who we'll see coming out here pretty soon.
Oh, he's going to be
Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's hands are as soft as Ben Simmons. Like, that dude is an incredible pass catcher. He's get the comms to guys like Stephon Diggs for a reason. Like, I stay out of the comms, but I can see it in his game. Polished route runner. He can work on the perimeter or in the slot. We saw him do both things at Ohio State. If you want to work downfield, great. Contested catch is great. Body control, top notch. Tracks the ball really well. Good route runner. I think if you're looking for that all-around receiver, I think Garrett Wilson is the one that makes the most sense, and he's going to be ready day 1 where there's not going to be any concerns compared to someone like a Jameson Williams. So you're hoping you're getting the true Jameson Williams in the back half of the season. I think Garrett Wilson is the one that I would probably go with.
Now we're on the Seattle Seahawks at number 9. I feel like it's either going to be quarterback or it's going to be offensive tackle. And it's very interesting when we look at some of the offensive tackles available. Trevor Penning,
Seattle to do the right thing.
I know that's very hard. I would like
this
Trevor
draft
Penning
did not work out for them. This draft did not work out for them because I think they were probably hoping someone like a Kayvon Thibodeau would have slid to them. Yeah, maybe another, like I said, an offensive tackle could have fallen to them. I don't think it's just worked out the way they wanted.
Do they take the first quarterback in this year's NFL draft? Are they the first team that takes a QB off the board? That's a bigger question. And if so, who is that guy?
They're not a QB for winning, though.
No, they're not. And they have, like I said, I think they're in an ideal situation right now. They have Drew Lock and Geno Smith competing for the starting spot. Maybe you give them this year. You evaluate your options after 2022. If that's the case, then I'd have them go offensive tackle here. Their offensive line has been caca.
It is bad. Let's be honest. My counter would be the highest ceiling of any player left, Derek Stingley Jr.
Do they take cornerback though? I mean, they need it because they did lose. They lost
the highest upside player.
Reed. Yeah.
I mean, like Quandre Diggs, he's one of the better safeties, so you don't really need to look at someone like a Kyle Hamilton. I think they have the talent at some other positions to get by with it. Like, it's a team that needs help pretty much everywhere. Don't get me wrong. But I think if Derek Stingley Jr. is sitting here, I think it makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, this is a spot where I could see the Seattle Seahawks trading out. I could see them trading out of this pick right here, and someone like Philly, who has been rumored to wanting to trade up. I can see them wanting to trade up here.
Do they want
maybe get over top?
They want Derek
Jets.
Stingley. They would want Derek Stingley Jr. I'd imagine if they traded up.
I could see the Eagles trading up to make sure they could get someone like a Jameson Williams or Drake London.
Do we see any of those guys going here before they're on the clock? Like the only team, like I would worry.
Jets.
Yeah, but I mean, will the Jets go that option?
Yes. Yeah, I think they would.
Very
absolutely.
Why
I think
not
the Jets
Chris Olave?
absolutely would do it. You trust in Zach Wilson. You want him to be your quarterback of the future. You've got guys. Don't get me wrong. You have Corey Davis on the perimeter, but you're also waiting on that big increase in production from Elijah Moore. You either want to give Zach Wilson a deep target to utilize his arm, or a contested catch receiver is someone in like a Drake London or Jameson Williams. So if you want to trade up to get a receiver, I could see Philadelphia moving up and taking a receiver for the third year in a row.
That's interesting. That is interesting. I mean, I don't know what to do here. This is a true stump. Like Seattle.
I'll say either OT or, like I said, I would go here either like Derek Stingley Jr. I can go receiver or not receiver. I'm sorry. I can see either go edge or offensive tackle is someone I can see. So I can see like Jermaine Johnson or, even like a Trevor Penning.
I feel like offensive tackle, then that's hard too, because like, okay, hey, like they still have to protect the quarterback, whoever it is. Like, I don't think they should go QB this year. Like you put a rookie, like let's say they went with a quarterback. Let's say they went with a Desmond Ridder, a Sam Howell, or even a Malik Willis. That dude is going to be running for his life this season if you don't protect the offensive line. And you had a pretty decent run game last year with Rashad Penny. Obviously, you're getting Chris Carson back this year. That's huge for them. But widely, the offensive tackle position in the NFC West has been
look at Russell Wilson's career. He was beat up and bruised that his entire time in Seattle. So I think, like for me, I either go offensive tackle or I'm addressing edge with Jermaine Johnson, because Seattle was 25th in pressure last year at just 22.1%.
I feel like I'm going to go Trevor
I'm going
Penning
either
here.
one. I think it's either, like I said, you can go Stingley here, or I think it would either be, like I said, I think Penning, Stingley, or Jermaine Johnson. That would be my three.
I think I'm going to go with Trevor Penning here. I feel like that makes the most sense for them.
Do it.
Okay, now we're back on the Jets. They're on the clock here at number 10. Wide receiver, Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, Drake London. Like, I know
don't think
that
it'd be Olave because you're already kind of matching what he does with Elijah Moore. You need a difference maker.
When you still have Braxton Berrios, they just signed to a 2-year deal as well, who's kind of uses that same type of role, which I'm not saying that Braxton Berrios is anywhere as good as Chris Olave. I'm not saying that at all, but that's like the role that they have him play. Denzel Mims, they're hoping he can take the next step here on the outside for them this upcoming season. Do you go with the Drake London here?
I go Drake London. Yeah. For me, I go Drake London. I've been on the soapbox of saying Drake London is not just a contested catch receiver. He worked so much from the slot, whether it was with time when he had Michael Pittman still on his team or playing on the Monroe St. Brown. He was very position versatile, playing on the perimeter or in the slot. Saw a ton of targets. He can go up and get the ball, don't get me wrong, but he works really well in space of manipulating at all three phases of the route. Like, he's not a speedster, don't get me wrong, but he does a great job of getting separation at the stem. Fluid route runner. From his pro day, looked really good in terms of where his ankle and his rehab has been. Look, the guy won Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year without playing an entire season. I think he's fantastic. He gives Zach Wilson a target that is much needed in this offense. So for me, I do go Drake London on this one. Yeah, let's go over the draft. We'll go over these first 10 picks.
Number 1, Trayvon Walker to the Jags, which that's a lot of the rumors, the speculation right now. A lot of the buzz is around that, which, I think there's a consensus that people feel like Trent Baalke should be fired if this is the first overall pick. Aidan Hutchinson staying in his home state of Michigan. Ikem Ekwonu kind of being, I think, a little bit of a wild card there at number 3, because I felt like he could either gone at 3 or he could have gone at 5 or to one of the other Giants spots here. Or even the Carolina Panthers. Like, it could be really dependent, but I think Ikem Ekwonu will be the number 3 overall pick here. Kayvon Thibodeau, edge rusher here, fitting in with Robert Saleh, who has worked with Oregon edge rushers previously and has utilized and maximized what they're able to do. So Kayvon Thibodeau ending up in New York for them. Evan Neal being on the opposite side of Andrew Thomas to help out there with Daniel Jones as they look to give him this final season in New York. Charles Cross, you got to protect whoever the quarterback's going to be. Look, you're going to have to deal with the Sam Darnold experiment, maybe Baker Mayfield after round 1. There may be a trade there, even though there was mutual disinterest reported there. So we went with Evan Neal at 5. We went with Charles Cross at number 6. Ahmad Gardner, easy selection here for the New York Giants at number 7 here, especially with some of the rumors and the rumblings coming out there about them looking to potentially trade away James Bradbury during or after, or maybe even before the NFL draft. He's been kind of on the trade block there, according to media reports. And then obviously adding Garrett Wilson as a wide receiving threat there to this offense in Atlanta that really doesn't have much outside of Kyle Pitts. So that's a little bit of a pressure alleviator right there. They still have, bringing back Cordarrelle Patterson. He's back, the flash in the pan from last year. Trevor Penning going number 9 to the Seattle Seahawks. This was a tough one to really decide between because some people have them taking QB, some people have them taking cornerback, and some people have them taking offensive tackle. I think regardless, they're going to be in a crap situation unless they address the offensive tackle position. They have to be able to get somebody who at least you can build around and say, hey, okay, I don't have to worry about the left or the right side. If this one guy, whoever may be, if he plays at left, if Penning plays left or right tackle here for the Seahawks, maybe one side of the ball can be solidified and you don't have to worry as much. But when you have 2 issues at tackle, it is a nightmare for any quarterback, as we've seen. Like, look at what happened with Joe Burrow. That was a huge, huge thing his rookie season. Not having
we see Russell Wilson go through his entire career. I'm not putting Drew Lock under the same pressure.
Oh man, or even Geno Smith.
How upset are you going to be? Like, I'm sure Russell Wilson will never admit this, but after all these years of dealing with that situation, the year he's gone, then they bring an offensive line in the first round. Ugh.
You don't know what you have until it's gone, and maybe you didn't realize. Like, it's like a relationship, right? You didn't know about the things you should have done when you're in the relationship until after the relationship is over, right? I think that's always one of those things there. Tom, you'll find love one day, my friend. I got you. Like I said, look, they make it easy. There should be like a football media industry dating thing that you can connect to people in this industry. There you go.
Hey, here, match up with these people that also have no life.
Oh man, that would be absolutely wild there.
Oh God. And
then Drake London at number 10 here to the New York Jets out of USC. I think this would be a great downfield threat here for a guy like Zach Wilson. You have Braxton Berrios as one of those downfield threats, which is like why I keep referring to Braxton Berrios here in this offense here. They just signed him to a 2-year deal. Like, that was one of their moves in free agency. So
your
you have
infatuation with Braxton Berrios is so.
Elijah Moore, who will be ridiculous, I think. There, Corey Davis.
Watch Braxton Berrios have a breakout year. I will love it right now,
man. And so now we're here with the Washington Commanders, which I feel like Tommy. I feel like cornerback is going to be a huge area for them. Offensive line, like interior offensive guard. Like, do they go with an offensive lineman this early though? I don't.
For me, I think there's 3 picks, and one of them is already off the board.
Yeah,
I think Washington is sitting here. They're looking at either Garrett Wilson, they want Chris Olave, or you take Kyle Hamilton. To me, I think that's the 3 picks.
I think
because you either want to give Zach Wilson another weapon, or you're taking Kyle Hamilton to help kind of reshape the secondary of this offense.
You have to. That was a secondary look. I think the cornerback stuff that they have going on, like they had some guys stepping in that they gave up too much last year. Like in a Ron Rivera defense, they gave up, I think it was 34 passing touchdowns last season. Not ideal. Some of that came in the middle of the field. It's not all in cornerbacks.
They were dead last in passing touchdowns, a lot of 34. The second was the Indianapolis Colts at 32.
I don't see Kyle Hamilton dropping further than 11. I feel like Washington's probably the spot for him here.
Yeah, I think he is too. If Garrett Wilson is off the board, because I would prioritize, I think Garrett Wilson would be the slight prioritization over top of Kyle Hamilton, because you've invested in Carson Wentz through draft capital. And if he does play over 70% of the snaps this year, that conditional third is turning into a second. So that's an expensive acquisition. So I think you're either deciding we want to give him another weapon alongside Terry McLaurin, who is entering, the final year of his deal. You're hoping Curtis Samuel stays healthy. Same thing for Logan Thomas. Maybe Diami Brown can also stay healthy and kind of take the next step. So we have a couple of different question marks on that side of the ball. But defensively, no matter what happens on the offense side of the ball, you've got to be able to stop other teams from scoring points.
Yeah.
You're playing in a division who these other teams are likely to also add in some more wide receiver talent, whether that's with the Eagles and whether it's the Giants and a revamped passing offense with Brian Dable, as the head coach, hoping to get the best out of Daniel Jones. You have the the Eagles, who we could see take another receiver this one and kind of further the progression of Jalen Hurts. And then you have the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, going to throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb, and then hopefully Michael Gallup when he gets healthy again. So for me on this one, it's
James Washington.
I think Kyle,
Noah
James
Brown.
Washington. I think Kyle Hamilton is the one I would go with just because Garrett Wilson is off the board, but they're going to do a couple hard looks at Chris Olave here, sitting here as well.
Now, this is where at number 12, the Vikings on the clock, I could honestly see them taking Jermaine Johnson here. Now, for them, they've got Patrick Peterson back at the cornerback position. They have they made a signing of Nate Hairston, who I believe will be a very under-the-radar addition for them inside the nickel for them. Obviously, the safety position here for the Minnesota Vikings is pretty intact for the most part. Linebacker, we could do that. I think it's too early for them to go inside backer here. I do think that they do need a consistent edge presence. Look, I know there's the whole status on Danielle Hunter. I feel like Jermaine Johnson would go here. It's either this or do they add another cornerback? Like, would this be a perfect time to add Derek Stingley Jr.?
That's exactly what I was saying. If Derek Stingley Jr. is still on the board right here,
this is tough.
I'm going Derek Stingley.
Let's open this one up to the chat. So for the chat here, would you go with Jermaine Johnson here for the Minnesota Vikings or Derek Stingley Jr.? We're going to let you make the pick. We'll let some of the responses roll in. Make sure you comment it, and we'll see kind of a quick tally as to maybe who gets some more preference. At number 12, Minnesota Vikings, they need some edge rusher help, some cornerback help.
I think Jermaine Johnson makes sense, but if you're going corner, I think it's either going to be Derek Stingley or Trent McDuffie. But because Stingley is still on the board, I think he has all the upside. Like we saw him flash that one year, and it's kind of just been injuries and a little bit of inconsistency. But when you're looking at
ceiling with one of his teammates, Justin Jefferson.
No, you're absolutely right. But I think ceiling wise, pairing him in there with Patrick Peterson, who did re-sign his deal, has said he wants to play for quite some time. But beyond that, I mean, Cameron Dantzler's okay. You've got Chris Boyd on this team. You've got Harrison Smith still lurking over the top at safety, still a guy who plays well downhill. You added someone like a Zadarius Smith to pair alongside like a Daniel Hunter. You've got Jordan Hicks on the front side pairing alongside Dalvin Tomlinson. So for me, defensively, corner is the spot where they still need help.
Paul DeSantis has Derek Stingley.
Yeah,
I'm with it.
I make sense.
Let's blow it up. This could change
Jr.
the draft. Like the Los Angeles Chargers are probably pissed right now, but you know what? We don't care. Derek Stingley Jr. going number 12 to the Minnesota Vikings. Now this puts Houston on the clock, which we were hoping that Sauce Gardner. Well, actually, I don't think that we thought Sauce Gardner. We were thinking Derek Stingley would be available maybe at 13 here. So for the Houston Texans, take a look at team news. Obviously, for them, we added an offensive tackle. I don't think quarterback is going to be that thing what we look at for them. No. Safety, probably not. Is this where they add a wide receiver?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, when we look at the team needs, I think wide receiver is absolutely on the board. The question, I think the two would come down to me. If we do want to go wide receiver, I think it makes a ton of sense. Do we go J-Mo or Chris Olave?
Ooh, that's tough. That is super tough.
I think it's J-Mo or Chris Olave.
I think Jameson Williams drops a little bit. Because like for Houston, here's the deal. Like they probably want someone who can play right away because obviously they just re-signed Brandon Cooks to an extension. They don't want to just waste, I think, Brandon Cooks and what they have. Like if Jameson Williams can't play right away for them in their situation, right? Does it make sense? Especially for like Houston, who we don't believe will contend or compete in that division for a top spot. It's going to be between the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. But they would be the number 3 team, in my opinion, between them and obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like Brandon Cooks, Chris Olave.
I mean, the other thing is like Jermaine Johnson. Like, there's no reason for them not to go with an edge rusher here also.
I forgot about that. Because, we were talking about that. Because remember, we were even saying, like, hey, do they take him? I'm okay with that.
I think Jermaine Johnson goes here.
Okay, I'm with it. I'm like it. Let's go Jermaine Johnson here, edge rusher, going at number 13 to the Houston Texans. And now the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock. And I think one of the key needs for them, obviously, I think they need some cornerback help, especially with some of the injuries that they dealt with last season. Look, you're getting Marlon Humphrey back from a key injury. Is it too early for them to go cornerback right here?
To me, this is one of the easiest picks of the draft, actually.
Okay, let's hear it. Tell me why.
Who fits the Baltimore Ravens more than Jordan Davis?
Yeah, that's going to make me mad because, look, they brought back Calais Campbell. They have Odafe Owe on the outside.
Yeah.
This does make too much sense.
To me, Jordan Davis just makes way too much sense right here.
Way too much. He's the pick there at number 14 to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock, and right here, I feel like they're going to keep 15, but I feel like there might be a team that might be interested in trading up at 18. I'm not sure.
To me, I think a trade could happen here. I think to me right now, if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, you're jumping up and down right now because I think you're probably taking Jameson Williams.
That's an exciting thing in addition to pair up alongside Devonta Smith.
Well, that's it. It's either that or it's Chris Olave. I think you can run the two things again where it's like, okay, do they go with what
does Jalen Hurts
the guy who's ready now? You know what I mean?
They want to go the Alabama pipeline here.
Yeah.
I'd say let's go Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I like Jameson Williams. I'm giving Jalen Hurts another weapon. Look, the Eagles have pushed off one of their draft picks to next year. I think that was also in an effort because they want to give Jalen Hurts a legit shot while also keeping an eye on next year's quarterback class. We want to give him a shot. Let's give him a legit shot. Let's pair James Williams back up with Devonta Smith out of Alabama. Let's give him a good, clean target right there. Hopefully the recovery is going well. And by all intents and purposes and videos that we're seeing, which you're never going to put a bad video out there about yourself, I think Jameson Williams to the Eagles just makes way too much sense. Yeah, it's 3 in a row, but no one's thinking Jameson Williams is going to miss like what happened with Jalen Reagor.
You got to get him some help. Devonta Smith can't be the only guy out there. Like if teams take him away,
they're
they need
two different things. We saw this when they were at Alabama. Like they run two completely different. Well, I guess we didn't see James Williams at Alabama. He transferred there from Ohio State, but like we know how they were utilized in this same scheme. I should say Devonta Smith being more possession, James Williams acting way more downfield, but still can work on the intermediate side of things. I think to me that just makes way too much sense because you're giving another weapon at all levels of the field alongside someone like Dallas Goedert still working over the middle. And don't forget to mention, too, they also are transitioning J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over to tight end, too, which is just, oh, my God. I'm not laughing, but I'm also somewhat laughing here. Like I'm just
crying. I'm crying on the inside.
Crying is a better way to put it. Yeah.
Now the draft gets interesting. Number 16, the New Orleans Saints. Like for me, everyone's talking about, do they take a quarterback here? Because I know that based on talking to some Saints beat reporters, there's talk that the organization does like Malik Willis, but they just re-signed Jameis, and they still have belief inside that organization with the pieces around Jameis that they feel like they can compete and then they can do some exciting things. Do they want to waste this potential window that they have, especially in the NFC South, that right now it's really between them and Tampa Bay? They have a chance to compete for that top spot in that division in 2022. What do they need? You look at Michael Thomas is coming back. You have obviously Marquez Callaway, who emerged for them as their number one guy last year due to MT being out. I think they need another receiver, to be honest with you. And I think here, Chris Olave makes the most sense.
They're able to get the guy they wanted and didn't have to trade up for him.
Yeah. How nice is that? Like, and they have a pick. They have another pick coming up here in just a couple spots. So,
yeah, to me, this is Chris Olave all day, every day.
Let's select it here, which now
I'm way too confident about this for my own good.
Now I am way
too confident right now.
The Chargers are on the clock right here. And I think we even had some mock drafts have had them taking offensive tackle. Some have had them taking cornerback. So when you factor it in, you have J.C. Jackson. I believe you have Michael Davis. You have obviously Asante Samuel Jr., who maybe could slide into that nickel and play on the inside, or if they want to keep him on the outside. Yeah. Do they go like we had said, like, hey, if he's available, Derek Stingley Jr. to the Chargers makes the most sense for them. Like, where are we going here now for this? I
think
Chargers
corner could still make sense and give him Trent McDuffie. I think that's one that would still make sense, but I
just
don't know if it's
defensive tackle. They still need an edge rusher because they need somebody opposite of Joey. Well, I mean, they have Khalil Mack. They don't need anybody opposite of Joey Bosa. They have Khalil Mack. Jesus. Edge rusher is not a need for them anymore. So this is kind of outdated a little bit.
I think Zion Johnson. I feel like
it's got to go between cornerback. I mean, do they go? Because like I said, everyone's like, okay, they got Rashawn Slater last season. Obviously, for them,
the right side
was a huge issue. Yeah, I'm not confident, especially with Justin Herbert. Like, okay, is there anybody that they can grab that you feel like will be a good addition? Let's take a look at some offensive guards who are available here. I mean, I like Zion Johnson to them. Like for him, 9.74 RAS, a power run scheme, which obviously with Austin Eckler, they're going to try to do it. Like there will be balance here. I'm good with Zion Johnson here to the Chargers.
Yeah, I think I want to go. I think their main pick, if Stingley doesn't fall, because we talk about the upside, we're drafting the player who we think they could be. Stingley would make the most sense, although it is already a position that they are strong at. It would make a ton of sense. But I think if you don't do that, then I think it goes Penning, and then it just like you're looking at offensive line at that point.
Yeah.
But I think if you don't get the offensive tackle, like if Charles Cross,
while you have Herbert on a rookie contract, solidify that. You have to
with Cross and Penning not falling, especially. I think right here, I think Zion Johnson.
They can just protecting Justin Herbert
on that rookie contract. I think that's one that makes the most sense logically. Put him in right guard.
There'll still be some tackles that are available a little bit later on in the draft as well. And there's even been some rumblings that Nicholas Petit-Frere could pop up into round 1 somehow. So let's go Zion Johnson here. Now, Tommy, I want your thoughts on this. Okay, the Eagles. I feel like I could see a team trading up here, and the team that makes the most sense right now, because look, New Orleans is on the clock right afterwards, and this is where New Orleans could take a quarterback. I have a feeling if the Pittsburgh Steelers are really looking at a quarterback, this is where Malik Willis goes. Do the Pittsburgh Steelers here trade from 20 to 18 and just swap with Philadelphia? Yay or nay?
I mean, I'm all in on Pittsburgh getting Malik Willis. I think they could have traded up earlier in the draft to get him, but just because Kyle Hamilton was still sitting on the board, I was reluctant to have Washington trade out of that pick. I think Houston could have traded.
Have to trade up that many spots though? Because like if you're the Steelers, do you want to trade up like 9 spots when you can trade up 2 spots? And for Philadelphia, they could drop back just a few.
Well, that was all depending on if he was going to be there. Because we're looking at a ton of teams who weren't going to go quarterback. Is why I was saying that. And they were, like I said, potentially moving ahead of someone else. If the Steelers want to get Malik Willis, get Malik freaking Willis. Eagles can add some more draft capital either this year or next year. We'll see what the trade says, what it actually wants, and what we can pull off in this one. Yeah, the Steelers can get Malik Willis, and you're gonna have to move up a couple of spots to do it, get ahead of the Saints. Yeah, I'm in. I'm down to make a move.
All right, let's see what we have here. So the Steelers will give up 20, and the Eagles will give up 18. Just swap spots, propose the trade, confirm.
We're gonna have to give up something to do it.
It was declined. All right, so what are some backup ends, back end ones here? So let's go Pittsburgh Steelers.
Go Steelers have picks 20, Eagles have 18. Steelers could either sweeten the deal with like just try a. Do you want to go a 4th this year, or do you want to work towards like a pick from next year? With the Eagles really looking toward next year,
I'd say give them a 4th this year and maybe a 6th next year.
All right, we'll see if it takes it or not. They did not take that one.
Bam, it's accepted.
There you go.
All right, so now we have it. Malik Willis is going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Tommy is a happy camper in this draft. New Orleans is pissed,
right now. I absolutely love this.
New Orleans is pissed. Now, the Saints and the Eagles did some dealing beforehand, but they're not going to be dealing again. And so now the New Orleans Saints are back on the clock here. And for them, we've already addressed with them wide receiver.
Yep.
You don't go running back round 1.
No,
you don't do it. There's nobody here. I mean, there's maybe one team in this NFL draft that could do it, and it's not in this portion. It's towards the end of round 1 where we could see that. So
yeah,
for them, going back to their team needs, are there any safeties available? I don't think, because like even like some of the DraftKings over and under odds, they only have like safety at 1.5. They don't believe that anybody besides Kyle Hamilton will go.
It is actually 1.5. Yeah. It all comes down. Do you think Stein? Do you think he makes it into the first round?
That's tough here.
It's all in Lewis Stein.
I don't see them taking an offensive tackle right now either, especially like
looking at the board right now. I would be inclined to agree, unless they want to go with, Tyler Smith. I know we have him on here much lower.
Yeah.
So you're drafting for need at that point. I think one name I would kind of take a look at here, and it's kind of similar to what we did with the Ravens, of a guy who just makes a lot of sense. Devontae Wyatt, I think, makes a ton of sense here. Also, the defensive tackle from Georgia. Know them guys. If you're a rasshole like both of us are, 9.58 on the RAS. He's one of those top prospects from that Georgia incredible defense. Although Davis and Walker get a ton of the talk, Wyatt
defensive-minded head coach now too.
Huh?
They have a defensive-minded head coach now.
They do. I think he makes a ton of sense here. Just because like the board hasn't fallen for him, because the Steelers are able to trade up above him. They're able to get Olave. The offensive tackles haven't necessarily slid their way. Like I said, I don't see them going back to back on wide receiver, even though Treylon Burks is still sitting out there.
For For them, I felt like it would have been Malik Willis if he was available there at 19, which is why I was like, okay, Pittsburgh has interest in Malik. This is their perfect opportunity to trade up and obviously doing it, which I could see that happening. I think for the Saints here, like when you look at their team, for the most part here, Tommy, they're pretty intact. Like they have a pretty good roster. It's like they don't have to draft a need. They can just draft this can be a luxury pick for them right here. Someone who is going to add value to them. Best player available. Who might that be? Like
for me, I lean with the guy who I think is going to be a space eater up the middle with Devontae Wyatt.
Let's do it.
He plugs a hole and allows Cam Jordan to get loose.
I like it here. Now Philadelphia being back on the clock here at number 20. We, for them, already addressed adding a wide receiver there for Jalen Hurts, another guy to throw to here. Linebacker, safety, cornerback. Is this where we see Andrew Booth Jr. go in the NFL draft?
We could, but I think Trent McDuffie ends up going over top of Andrew Booth. I think McDuffie has a lot of the hype right now. Like McDuffie was a guy we could have seen
cornerbacks in the past too. Like they have obviously with Sidney Jones, they did that in the past.
Yeah, like I think McDuffie could have gone to 12 at Minnesota if Stingley wasn't already on the board still.
Okay, let's go to McDuffie here. 21, the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots. Who knows what the hell's going on with them? Is this their opportunity here to add a wide receiver there for a good friend, Mac Jones?
I mean, cornerback. The resurgence of
this could be Andrew Booth's season because they just signed Malcolm Butler. He's back there, but it's like okay, outside of that, who do they have at corner?
Well, I mean, yeah, because you lose
J.C. Jackson. I feel like Kaiir Elam would probably be more of a pick here for Bill Belichick.
That is one I do like. I do like the Kaiir Elam thought process. I think Devin Lloyd makes sense too as just a Belichick guy.
They do need a linebacker after getting rid of Kyle Van Noy and obviously Deontay Foreman. No, not Deontay Foreman. Deontay Hightower. This is tough. Linebacker or corner. This is like a coin flip here.
I think if Devin Lloyd he feels like a Patriot.
You know what I mean? Let's do it. Devin Lloyd, number 22, the Green Bay Packers. 2 picks here within the next 6 picks here for the Green Bay Packers. Look, I think that obviously the conception you had Brian Gutekunst coming out and saying that, hey, you know our history of going wide receiver in round number 2. That's like this is smokescreen season. So it's like I want to believe the opposite of what they say. Like if he's going to come out and publicly say, hey, round 2 is usually when we take a look at wide receiver, even though they had the capital to do so. I feel like this is where they do it. And I feel like Treylon Burks is the pick here for them. I think he goes here at number 22 to the Green Bay Packers.
Treylon Burks, no matter what.
Bam.
That's my thing.
We did it.
Give me Treylon Burks. He was my number 1 going into the offseason. And he was surpassed just a touch because he just didn't test as well as I thought he would. But like me and you have talked about this a lot this offseason, especially here on PFN Daily, where I put a lot more emphasis on film grading than I do on the analytical side of things. I think you need to have both things. But Burks, he wasn't a guy I expected to run 4.4. You didn't see that on film. What you saw was a guy, when he got to speed, could hit the 22.6 like he was tracked on GPS. Mm-hmm. He brings a ton of aspects to this game. We know about the hand size, the catch radius, body control. I mean, ask the guys over at Ole Miss what they thought about him because we ended up doing on back-to-back plays, just taking that cornerback's lunch money all game on that one. I think Burks just makes a ton of sense. He's a little raw, don't get me wrong, but I think you feel a lot better if you're Aaron Rodgers entering the season with Treylon Burks added to, Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb. Hopefully, Robert Tonyan, Big Bob Tonyan comes back and plays healthy. Yeah, to me, it's got to be Burks here.
What about the Cardinals? It says cornerback, edge rusher. Obviously, they lost Chandler Jones. It was a huge loss for them in NFL free agency. They lose out on Malcolm Butler, who had retired and said, I don't want to play for the Cardinals. Tight end, not really a need, in my opinion, that you just re-sign Zach Ertz and Max Williams. Tight end is not even on the table, in my opinion here. Running back, you have James Conner. You have Eno Benjamin. Running back, obviously not an option for them right here in round number 1, in my opinion. Offensive tackle, I don't think that there's anybody that is an ideal fit for them here in round number 1. That Tyler Smith could be it. Like that here, Bernard Raymond, because Bernard Raymond's he's a converted tight end to an offensive tackle.
Yeah, I think there's one here.
Or is this where Nicholas Petit-Frere sneaks in?
To me, this is a bit of a sneakier move, but it's one I could see happening given the excitement that he had. When we had a Mike K last week, Who was the player he talked up about that said that he absolutely loved? It's Jahan Dotson. Could we see Jahan Dotson go to the Arizona Cardinals?
Ooh.
You bring back AJ Green for 1 year. You're not sure what you're going to get out of him. You lost Christian Kirk. You didn't really utilize Rondale Moore whatsoever, so you're still going to try to use him on there. You don't necessarily have anyone else behind him. You're hoping Antoine Wesley plays okay and kind of take the next step. But someone like Jahan Dotson, to me, I think that's a really interesting one, giving Kyler Murray another weapon on this team.
It's tough, though, because they just re-signed AJ Green. D-Hop's back.
Yeah, but it's Green dealing with hamstring injuries. You don't know if you're going to have him the whole season. You're hoping you have the return of what we always saw with DeAndre Hopkins being the 150 target guy who's on the field for almost every single game. So they wanted to arrest him at the end of the season.
I think them going Karlaftis here. They need edge rusher help.
Yeah.
Who's their other guy? Who's their other edge rusher that was opposite of Chandler Jones right now? Like JJ Watt, and
it's JJ Watt right now. Yep, JJ Watt. You open it up for guys like Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons to get a little more work. Marcus Golden on this team, Dennis Gardner. You've got some decent guys in here. Zach Allen.
They're going to have to get after the quarterback. Like they're going to have to get after Matthew Stafford somehow in this division.
Yeah. I think honestly you could go right here. Andrew Booth, if you want to upgrade the cornerback, or George Karlaftis, if you want to upgrade the edge. I could see either one of those. And like I said, that outside wild card, I think it was Jahan Dotson.
Well, this is tough. I don't know where to go here. I have no clue where to go here.
I think if you don't know, then I think the safe thing is going with what the NFL trend has been, which is
what are some of the latest mock drafts have gone for them?
Well, I mean, it all depends on players that were still available here at this point for it. I mean, I think a corner makes a ton of sense.
Okay. So is that going to be Kyler Elam or Andrew Booth Jr. at this point?
For me, I think I would go. Oh God, that's close.
Yeah,
I like Kyler Elam a lot.
Yeah, he's a Florida dog.
Yeah, I like Kyler Elam a lot. I think he's got better size too. Just over 6'1". Yeah, Booth is
he won't
negligible.
6 foot.
I'm cool if you want to go Kyler Elam.
Let's go Kyler Elam. He's the wild card here. Bang. Now the Dallas Cowboys. I could see them going George Karlaftis here because look, you lose out on Randy Gregory. You lose out on the Von Miller sweepstakes. Micah Parsons is going to solely play edge rusher. He's going to be playing that hybrid inside backer, edge rusher situational. Edge rusher right here makes the most sense, in my opinion. Cornerback could also be another one because, look, opposite of Trayvon Diggs, you have was it Anthony Brown? This is a tough one. I wish Dalton Miller was here and he can tell us where to go.
Why not Tyler Lindenbaum?
Will they? Do we see?
I could absolutely see Tyler Lindenbaum going here.
I feel like he's going a little too early. Let me call Dalton Miller.
Are you calling him on the spot right now?
Yes, I am.
Do it.
Let's see if he answers here. Dalton Miller. Let's see. Dalton Miller, just don't cuss. You're on live right now. We're on air. We're doing a live mock draft on PFN Daily, and Tommy and I are kind of perplexed here on the Cowboys at 24. So I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on players available. So before the Cowboys picked at 24, the Cardinals took Kyler Elam at 23. Treylon Burks goes at 22 to the Packers. Devin Lloyd at 21 to the Patriots. Trent McDuffie to the Eagles at 20. On the board right now available, George Karlaftis is still there as an edge rusher. And then you also have Andrew Booth Jr. Where would you go? I'll give you all the players available. Right now, George Karlaftis, Kenny Pickett.
I can see him, baby. I can see him.
Okay.
I got this.
You knew he was tuning in.
I mean, looking at the board, the longer I've done mock drafts with the Cowboys, the more difficult it has become.
It feels like
that's a testament to how good the draft team has been doing. They have kind of figured out the order of things and how to make life miserable for those that are picking in the 20s of this draft, especially when you have a need at guard because most likely, like in this draft here, Zion Johnson is already going to be gone. Now, for me personally, I would take George Karlaftis and not even think twice about it. He is easily my highest ranked player right now. And he is at a position of need because the Dallas Cowboys absolutely need an edge rusher in this class. You don't want to have to force Micah Parsons to take that many snaps as a traditional defensive end, outside linebacker, whatever you want to call him. You would like to be able to use him situationally as a pass rusher, but more than likely they would like to use him off the ball a little bit more. So for me, it would be George Karlaftis here. I would also be happy with Daxton Hill or Lewis Sine. I really like both safeties here. Also, Arnold Ebiketie, if you prefer Ebiketie to Karlaftis, you could do that. Another edge rusher from Penn State. I wouldn't do it, though. I'd go Karlaftis all day, every day.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to go with the consensus pick. We're going to go with George Karlaftis here, Dalton. Thank you so much, my man.
Is this what it feels like to be a lifeline on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like this we just phoned a friend.
Tommy just said, is this what it's like to be a lifeline there? Oh, he hung up. All right. Anyways, George
Karlaftis. Thanks, Dalton.
Dude, it's been fun here. All right. This is where I feel like things could get dicey here for this Buffalo Bills team, okay? Because defensively, they've loaded up. Cornerback might be the one option I'd choose, but there's been some steam this week in the last 24 to 48 hours that there's apparent love fest between the Buffalo Bills and Breece Hall. This is a very interesting dilemma to be in. Obviously, running back out of Iowa State, Buffalo's not going to be in a position to select him later. So it's like you really like him now. You got to take him. Do we do it? Is he the first running back off the board here in the 2022 NFL draft?
I think it could. The chaos side of me says it could happen.
Press the button. The only other position I would say is cornerback, which I think really it'd be between if Andrew Booth Jr. was still available here, which obviously he is, and running back. Like, what's a bigger need for them? They're getting Tre'Davious White back coming off of an ACL injury, but they've lost people in free agency. They need another corner.
Then for me, what about Dax Hill?
They don't need a safety, though.
No, but Dax Hill can also play corner. He played corner in Michigan.
Do you want to move him, though, to
either?
How do you think he'll feel there? Like, he's obviously got a 4.3 40-yard dash. That's great. Coming out of high school. That's really tough. Like, do you envision them moving him there, though? Like, do you see that happening there for Buffalo? Is that like
I think they absolutely could. Yeah, I think and the other thing is too is like you look at Jordan Poyer coming towards the end of his contract.
I think they're going to pay him.
Like he's kind of moving up a little bit, so I think you would have a little bit of versatility. Like, let's say he didn't necessarily work a corner, but I think he absolutely would. For me personally, I think he kind of do the same thing we kind of saw from L'Jarius Sneed, where he transitioned from safety to cornerback. I think that one can make a ton of sense. I think Andrew Booth Jr. obviously is another guy still sitting on the board. If we want to go cornerback, I know the draft purists would hate it if we went running back as much as I would absolutely love it. I mean, they did.
What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Because like, think about it offensively, like behind Josh Allen, the run game, like Devin Singletary, they had
Devin Singletary. You've got Zach Moss. They also brought in Duke Johnson to be more of a pass catching back on this team. They had a ton of success last year towards the back of the latter part of the last couple of weeks, like last 4 weeks of the season. Devin Singletary absolutely took off, but a lot of that was due to touchdown productivity. You could absolutely use another top tier running back on this team, but you could do this later. Like if you missed out on a Breece Hall, like fine, I get it.
Can do the running back out of the draft, like South Dakota State?
Damian Pierce, the guy from Florida. You could go Zamir White if you want out of Georgia. Pierre Strong. Shut the hell up, Siri.
She was listening to you.
Yeah. Like I said, Pierre Strong later on in the draft. They don't have to go running back early as much as the chaos would be fun. But yeah, because I could see Andrew Booth or Daxton Hill going right here to the Buffalo Bills.
Bang. All right. Yeah, this is going to be tough. I'll let you make the pick. Who are we choosing? I don't see it being Daxton Hill just because it's like I think.
Okay, fine. If you want to say if you think that, then let's go Andrew Booth.
You want to go? I mean, part of me wants to go running back because I know that's the buzz right now. Gosh, it's what a tough position to be in, Tommy. I don't like.
Okay, question: do you want to be that guy?
I do because there's always one team like are the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have the wide receivers.
Yep.
They have the defense.
They have everything.
So
this is the team. This is a luxury pick. If we want to say one team in this draft has a luxury pick, we say that is the Buffalo Bills. They're stacked everywhere else. You've added Von Miller to this team. You've got wide receivers. You bring in Jamison Crowder to replace Cole Beasley. You've got plenty of guys on the perimeter. You've got one of the best cornerback. You have one of the best safety and linebacker duos. Tre'Davious White is going to be healthy this year. You've got plenty of edge rushers. Offensive line looks good. Josh Allen is Josh Allen, right? You've got everything else. Let's go Breece Hall. Done.
Locked in there. Tennessee Titans at 26. This is interesting because they've even alluded to, I don't think they're going to go quarterback in round one, but they did. Their general manager Robinson did mention that, hey, we want to look to a potential future successor of Ryan Tannehill, someone who's not going to come in and push to start right away, but someone who will learn. You look at Tennessee, they need a center. They need tight end help there. I think it's too early for them to go tight end in round number one here. I don't think there's any round one tight end in this year's NFL draft. I think it's round two and higher.
I love Trent McDuffie as much as the next person, but that's not a need.
There is
I know linebacker's a position of need for them. Corner is a position of need as well.
I feel like this is where Andrew Booth would probably go. Do we see that?
Yeah. Andrew Booth, man, what about Nakobe Dean?
A linebacker?
Yeah, I can see Nakobe Dean.
They do need that. I mean, obviously, they just re-signed Harold Landry as that edge rusher guy, but like Nakobe Dean would be a good enforcer on the interior, on that middle of that linebacking unit at the second level.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. Let's go Nakobe Dean here.
Yep. I'm in.
Bam. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What needs do they have? Quarterback Tom Brady retiring. Oh, wait. No, he unretired, folks.
They still need a number.
The fact that they have quarterback listed, still in like some things, like they have Kyle Trask, which they drafted. I don't imagine that Kyle Trask, in my opinion, has got to be better than any of these quarterbacks in this year's draft, which isn't saying much.
No, I disagree.
No? Okay. All right.
I don't think he is.
Running back? No. Defensive tackle. You have Vita Vea there. Who else are you trying to pair? Like Perrion Winfrey? Like, are you going to pair Perrion Winfrey there alongside Vita Vea?
Yeah. Let me see. What do we have at cornerback still? I think Andrew Booth, because Kyer Elam is already gone. I think he would have made sense here. So I think Andrew Booth makes sense in this spot. Like I said, I think Daxton Hill, like I said, you can play him at safety or you can play him at corner. I think he would work here. I think Kenyon Green. No, I'm sorry, not Kenyon Green. I think Lewis Sign. That could be a guy we could see go here as well for the additional safety help.
Because who did they? Did they still have that hold of safety, right? Because obviously after the loss of Whitehead, they have they just have Antoine Winfield Jr. right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's Antoine Winfield Jr. They've got Keanu O'Neal on this team. Logan.
Oh, yeah, they just signed him, and he's going to go back to that. Wasn't he going to go play that traditional linebacker spot?
Yeah, he's moving back to what he was doing. They're not doing the same thing that had happened in Dallas.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you pick this one for Tampa Bay.
Oh, this sucks.
I know, this is long, but it's long and thought out. Like, we're thinking this out. We're not just throwing shit against the wall and hoping it sticks. Like, we're having deep thought as to like, what do we think is going to happen?
Yeah, and that's the hard part about this. We're trying to predict the most unpredictable draft we've had in a long time. Like I said, I think one that also makes sense here for me too. What did they lose this year? That was their strength last year, and it was offensive line. I think offensive line took a hit. I could see Kenyon Green, the offensive guard from Texas A&M. I could see him sliding in here.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point because you lose Alex Kappa to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I think offensive guard, I think that makes a ton of sense. He can come in here and play, whether you want to play him on the left side. Because right now you're looking at like Donovan Smith and Aaron Stiney. I think you got Jensen still, Shaq Mason, Wirfs on the right-hand side. I could see Kenyon Green coming in here and trying to help out that interior of the offensive line on the left-hand side.
Let's do it. Kenyon Green, he's gone there. Now for the Packers, this is an interesting one. What do they need? We've obviously addressed wide receiver for them. I feel like at this point, edge rusher, since they lost to Darius Smith in free agency, I feel like edge rusher's the move for them here.
Arnold Ebiketie?
Or do they take the chance on David Ojabo? Which, I mean, I think like they would probably want someone who's going to contribute right away. I like Arnold Ebiketie here.
Here's my question.
But I was like,
what's stopping the Packers from going back-to-back receivers? What's stopping the Packers from sitting here right now? We've already brought in Traylon Burks. What's stopping them right now from bringing in George Pickens or Jahan Dotson?
Ooh. George Pickens has definitely been a name that's been talked about too.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to choose between George Pickens, Jahan Dotson, who would you choose here? Because look, let's take a look at who they took first. Traylon Burks, they've got him. You have Alan Lazard. You have Amari Rodgers.
That's tough.
Does it make sense for them? I wouldn't be shocked if they double dip, but does it make sense for them here in round one?
Too. I think
this is like totally non-Brian Gutekunst ever. This is like the complete opposite.
But right now is the time to do something stupid. I'm not even saying stupid. Right now, it's time to do something you kind of need to do. I think ceiling-wise, I think Pickens probably has the highest ceiling. If we go back to a couple years ago, George Pickens would have been labeled as the number one receiver of this class. But you've got some questions about his maturity and a couple different things going on. But from a physical and athletic profile, he fits the bill. Body control is the name of George Pickens' game. The way he can manipulate at the point of the catch, and especially when he's even off the field, I think that would be such a beautiful fit with someone like an Aaron Rodgers. And but then you have Jahan Dotson, who where Pickens brings the size, Jahan Dotson brings the explosiveness and the electricity, given what he did at Penn State. Best receiver to come out of Penn State since Chris Godwin. We've said that one on here a couple different times.
Yeah.
I love Jahan Dotson. We saw him make that one-handed snag up against Ohio State. So he can match George Pickens on there. I think Jahan Dotson's probably got the biggest catch rates for anyone I've seen sub 5'11", or lower.
Yeah.
The dude can extend his frame well outside what you think he would be able to. I'm cool with Pickens or Jahan Dotson if we want to go back to back on the Packers taking a wide receiver.
This is tough because what do we think the Packers are going to do here? If they address wide receiver,
Kenny Pickett.
No, yeah. That'll really piss Aaron Rodgers off there. I feel like it's got to be edge rusher. I feel like I don't know. I think one of their picks has to be edge rusher. But there was also the rumors of them maybe trading one of their first round picks, which probably could be a likely possibility here. But we'll assume that they keep it.
Yeah, I would assume they keep it.
It's really between Arnold Ebiketie, David Ojabo, and then also the receivers that you mentioned. Or is Boye Mafe a surprise guy that they would take here? I feel like Boye Mafe is going to go before Ebiketie.
Yeah.
Or David Ojabo. I feel like he'll go.
I think right now they're the Kansas City Chiefs. You are hoping that the Green Bay Packers go with the wide receiver because they want Boye Mafe to fall to them.
Or David Ojabo. I think they'd be happy with either or.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is tough, man. I don't think Kansas City keeps both their first-round picks either, but I'm feeling a kicker right here for Green Bay. Okay, Outlaw. Oh, man, I don't know where to go here.
You're lost on this one, aren't you?
You make the pick.
Oh, God, I hate it when you do this one.
Sorry, brother.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's what we're here for. Shoot. Like I said, this one's tough. You know what I'm doing? Give me Jahan Dotson.
Okay. Bold move. Bang. I'll make this pick here. I think they go since they have back-to-back, I think they go cornerback and edge rusher.
Okay.
I think they'll take Andrew Booth Jr. And then do you take Boye Mafe or do you take David Ojabo? I feel like they like Ojabo a lot too. So Outlaw is here. Outlaw, you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. How about we let you make the pick here? At pick number 30, edge rusher. Which edge rusher, if you are in control of the Chiefs, you have a pulse on, obviously, some of the Chiefs beat reporters. What are some of the conversations about edge rushers here? Who would you take? Boye. Okay, he said Boye. I guess Boye it is.
I'm down with it.
Let's do it. Outlaw made the pick. Cincinnati Bengals, this is an interesting one. Where do they go? In this situation, we look at the best players available on the board.
I love what Cincinnati did this year so much.
I
they were able to upgrade that offensive line and make it a
Tyler Linderbaum is here, which kind of, in my opinion, hey, at center, okay, this is kind of a no-brainer. I feel like Linderbaum would be the pick here for them.
Yeah,
because they focus so much on their offensive line, and this right here completely revamps it.
It literally is the one spot they could still do another upgrade at. I think Tyler Linderbaum makes the most sense of anything here.
Let's do it. And then the last pick, Detroit Lions. Is this where Lewis Seen comes in?
Lewisine or Dax?
Who do you think they would take? Oh, yeah.
Do you go back-to-back Michigan picks, Michigan players?
They would be roasted. Brad Holmes would be just absolutely destroyed, I think, if they did that.
Okay. Here's another question here, too. We've seen one quarterback go off the board.
What's the over-under at DraftKings? Isn't it like 1.5?
I can tell you here in a second. Right now, I had that listed on here. Let me see, what is it at? Right now, quarterback projections are 2.5.
2.5.
So we are well on the under right now with this one.
I'm taking the under, brother. I think one quarterback.
I think it's the under too.
There's been a lot of conversation here about Lewisine to Detroit.
Yeah,
they bolstered. Yep. I mean, they have a pretty good receiving core right now. Pretty solid for the most part. You get TJ Hawkinson back.
They could use some additional help. Don't get me wrong.
But they could get some. They could get some good players
with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you're also with DJ Chark. You're hoping for that big year out of him. So not
TJ Hawkinson coming back.
Yeah, you got Hawkinson coming back. Like I said, you can go sign here. I think you can go Dax Hill. I think that's absolutely in play. Look, I think Desmond Ridder. I think Desmond Ridder's in play here as well.
Ooh, this is tough. All right, I'm gonna let you pick.
The thing is, they have another pick at 34.
Yeah, so they don't necessarily have to reach right now.
Yeah.
Who's the best player for what they need? Like, is Dax Hill
do
better
they go
than
edge?
Lewis
Do you go
Dean?
Arnold Ibikede?
Let's see what does the Lions depth chart look like right now on defensive and edge rusher? Because their defense is actually pretty solid last year.
Yeah, it was. The strength of this team is their front seven. Michael Brocker sitting here in the middle with Amin Neal. You've got Romeo Okwara with defensive end, Charles Harris on this team here as well. Julian Okwara, obviously. Jeff Okudah on the perimeter. I mean, you've got some decent players. But
they play a 4-3 scheme too.
Yeah.
They do have yeah, that's interesting.
Ibikede or David Ajabo. Let's talk about Michigan players then.
Do they translate well playing in a 4-3 versus maybe a 3-4?
I think Ajabo's pretty scheme versatile.
They're probably not going to get much of him this year.
Nope. Well, they're not banking on this year. If they were banking on trying to win this year, then they would have made other moves at cornerback.
Let's see who their Oh God, their safety room looks rough. Deshaun Elliott, Tracy Walker III.
Yeah, that's true,
dude. Lewisine instantly better than any of these guys.
If you want to go Lewisine, I'm down with Lewisine because the thing I like about Lewisine is he's not just good at range, but he's great playing downhill. There was a play against Alabama where he absolutely lit up Brian Robinson.
Why is this showing only? There we go. See, I wish there was a feature where we could share your mock draft because I want to screenshot this.
We'll take screenshots and mesh it all together to make it work.
Yeah.
Because I've got it on my end too.
Well, there we go, folks. That is our mock draft that we've done for here. We'll see how accurate Tommy and I are. If we're very accurate, we'll put our Venmos out there for you to send us money for Taco Bell or something. We appreciate y'all.
I'm down with that. I'll take Baja Blast's payments and Doritos Logos Tacos.
There we go. That's the formula right here. If we're right. So how about this?
Yep.
Outlaw. Do you want to make a wager, my friend, since you're here in the chat still?
I didn't see this one coming.
I don't think he's there anymore. He's like, bring on the Michigan boys. That was 3 minutes ago.
Hey, I'm all in on the Michigan guys. Like you can't tell me nothing.
Look at Tommy's hat. He's wearing a Michigan hat.
Facts.
Okay. Well, you know what? How about this, Tommy? Okay, he said, I'm listening. Send us a mock draft, okay? Send us your mock draft that you have, your one-round mock. DM it to me on Twitter. And we can make a wager. If Tommy and I, what's the number we want to do? 8, 9? If we get 9 of the picks correct.
Okay.
He's got to send us like $5 for Taco Bell.
I'm not having him give money. Oh, if he does better than us, then
we will send him.
We can figure something out. We'll DM and figure something out. I don't want to.
Maybe we'll get some merch. We'll get some merch.
We can do some merch, something like that. We can figure something out. But I mean, look, it's the odds of getting everything right during a draft are
very low,
incredibly low. So honestly, that's the thing. Like anyone, like guys, go out there, use the simulator.
Have
PFN, ProFootballNetwork.com/mock-draft. Send us all of your screenshots because the different ways you can run a draft, whether it be QB heavy, a bunch of trades, there's so many different ways to pull this kind of thing off.
Do I have to do all 32 picks? Do whatever.
You can do whatever you want. If you just want to pick for your favorite team, just pick your favorite team.
Yep.
And then send us like, what would you do for your team? Do a 7-rounder with your team. Throw some trades in there if you want to. Yeah, absolutely. Just do whatever iteration you want it to be. Because honestly, like it's difficult to project and try to pick all 32 teams. Like there's a reason these draft guys that we have are so good at their job, because it's really hard to do consistently and pull it off and understand all the team needs and skill sets and projection for some of these players. Yeah, just run one for your own favorite teams out there and send us those ones. No one knows these teams better than the fans that watch them every single Sunday.
Well, obviously, Outlaw, if you get a majority of your picks correct, I will mail you the armrest on my chair, my $1,000 chair that has officially broken. So I will mail this to you. I will sign it in like silver Sharpie for you and say, hey, this is a token of my appreciation to you, my friend. Obviously, look at that. That's a clean snap. Like you can tell that damn thing snapped off. Well, yeah,
that's a sign where I'm like, okay, I need to lay off the carbs and get back in the gym when that happens to me,
brother. Oh, that's the thing. I'm a freaking beast, dude. I leaned over, put my arm on it, and it just snapped. And I was like, okay. Thankfully, I didn't pay $1,000 for this chair, but it is a $1,000 chair. It's like a $1,500 chair for being exact. So I don't know. It's like no one's gonna repair it. I tried super gluing it. It didn't work. But you know what, Outlaw? I might
break the welder out.
One day, I don't know. My autograph, hopefully one day will be worth something. That's one thing I hope for in life. One day, like maybe 40 years down the road, I will sign this in silver Sharpie and I will mail it to you. Because I do have some news coming up that I will share with all of you beginning next week after the NFL draft as to maybe some interesting things going on down the road. So, but yeah, I owe a lot to obviously all the people here, to Tommy Garrett, the amazing audience that we love that interacts with us every single day. We appreciate you so much. That'll wrap up today's episode. PFN Daily. Make sure you send us your mock draft. The most accurate one will get a signed broken armrest courtesy of Cody Work here, Pro Football Network. Oh man. All right, Tommy, my man. I appreciate you, brother.
Yep,
we'll see how things go. And then tomorrow, obviously, it's the NFL draft. What's going to happen beforehand? You get all that and much more on tomorrow's episode, PFN Daily.